So welcome and thank you for taking time out of your week to be part of this celebration. It is exciting to think about 20 years of supporting innovation in our schools. It really is a program that is revered across the state, having worked in other school districts, and peeked into Concord Trust to create a similar program. Now to be a part of it is really exciting. When I looked back at the grants from last year and walking through Main Street just now to see and hear about those projects from our staff and from our students, I'm so impressed and thrilled that we've had the opportunities to innovate in our classrooms in this way. Earlier this week, we had the Commissioner of Education in our schools, and he sat down on some flexible seating and almost fell over. I waited until he got settled, and then I took a photo. So if you're following me on Twitter, you can see Commissioner Edelblue on a pink accordion-like seat. And you can imagine Donna Pally and I standing there as he started to sit down and tip a little as we held our breath, hoping that we wouldn't have an injured commissioner. So the projects this past year have looked at supporting us in our work in technology and science, in movement and in literacy, all areas that really support our baseline, our core with our students. We look at the projects going forward this year, continuing to be very innovative, thinking about language development, flexible seating continuing to be part of our work, literacy, movement, and then the virtual reality is something that is going to be moving forward in both our middle school and in our high school, and that's kind of a cool area. That's something I haven't checked out myself, so I'm interested to see how that goes in our schools. Very thankful to the Concord Trust for supporting our teachers to create this pathway for innovation that then gets copied and goes forward as we work to create funding support for these projects in our schools ourselves, supporting our vision for developing a passion for learning and excellence in the Concord School District alongside Concord Trust is very appreciated, so thank you.
Our next speaker, along with several other members of our very engaged community, was one of the original founders of the Trust 20 years ago, and we're very excited to have her here today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Maria Manis-Pancho.
You're right, Terry. It's kind of hard to navigate that, but hey, I did it. So good afternoon. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here. As Ashley said, I was the founding chair of the task force for the Concord Trust for the Enhancement of Public Education and continue to serve as chair of the board for the first 8 years of this wonderful, wonderful organization. I was asked to take a brief reflective on how and why the Concord Trust was established. So here's our walk through memory lane. In May 1994, the school board had a public forum at Runlet to discuss the challenges facing public education, including budget and funding of various programs. I can tell you emotions were very high, and at times the discussion became very heated. Along the way, some viable suggestions emerged as to how to address the funding issue. As a result of that meeting, I wrote a guest editorial in the Concord Monitor strongly encouraging the consideration and the benefits of establishing a private, tax-exempt charitable organization with the purpose of supporting viable initiatives in the Concord School District. Shortly after the publication of that guest editorial, I was contacted and asked to meet with a group of concerned citizens. They were already in discussions of trying to establish some type of trust. The challenge at that time was the focus was limited in scope, and while there were very good intentions, the urgency of ensuring athletics and music and art were not cut with a priority opposed to a more strategic approach. I appreciated the opportunity to discuss the possibilities with that group, but I felt with my background in nonprofit management and the research that I had done indicated our visions were not in alignment to successfully navigate the obstacles associated with the startup. So fast forward 2 more years. 2 years later, I was approached by the current Concord School Board Chair, Betty Hoadley, which many of you may remember, and a board member, Lisa Brademan. We talked at length about the need, and I shared how it could be done. I underscored the import of making sure the task force was established first to fully research and have principled discussions about what and how the organization should look and operate. That led to a meeting with the superintendent, Kurt Sockness, resulting in a plan of approaching 5 other key community members to establish the task force with the purpose of establishing an organization that would not only be valuable in the near future, but be continuously sustainable and adaptable. On March 25th, 1997, a task force comprised of Doug Hicks, Chuck Leahy, Jim Milliken, Tom O'Connor, and Jody Sturgeon, along with myself, each members of the community came to the table with commitment to public education, connection to the Concord school system, and expertise necessary to accomplish the work at hand. We convened to explore the viability of establishing this nonprofit organization in support of the Concord schools. Why? Because even before public education funding became a crisis issue, there was a recognition that in order for the school district to meet state mandates and maintain a strong educational experience, any new, innovative, high-risk projects or those non-traditional methods were typically the first to be cut in the budget process. That's not to say the school board wasn't willing or concerned about entertaining and encouraging such projects. It's just the reality of the budgetary process and the school board's commitment to fulfilling its fiduciary responsibility for meeting the needs of the whole. In approximately 6 months, the task force was able to complete the first 2 phases of the 3-phase plan. The first phase was research, structure, and formulation with the objectives of establishing the name, developing the mission, creating the operational structure, and formally, legally establishing this organization. Phase 2 dealt with finalizing the Concord Trust establishment. On July 18th, 1997, the Concord Trust for the Enhancement of Public Education was officially established. Announcing its existence, the formation, formal presentation to the Concord School Board, and a public input session occurred on August 20th, 1997, in this room. After that, we finalized and tweaked things, and then we embarked on the next 18 months of Phase 3. And that was to ensure we started to build name recognition, marketing, and we set the endowment goal of $1 million and commenced attaining it. We identified ways to harvest untapped resources, most importantly our alums, established the strategic plan with the import placed on board development and the development plan, and finalized the document granting process. The focus was on researching and developing a simple but thorough application process, as well as preparing and embarking on the first phase of our fundraising. To ensure this application process would fit our needs, we co-opted the able assistance and expertise of Ellen Berger, Mary Wilkie, and Steve Paincho. The approach was deliberate, methodical, and, as is proven, has allowed this organization to continue for 20 years. As you know, the Concord Trust is a not-for-profit private organization whose mission is to support and enhance the public educational experience in Concord School District by securing financial support, working in collaboration with other educational support groups, as well as the Concord School Board and administration, and by granting funds to viable project activities which will enhance the public experience. Essentially, its purpose is to further enhance the already strong educational experience offered through the Concord School District by funding innovative and pilot projects within the school district. Without realizing it, the task force was looking to support what would be identified in the future as competency-based education. During the first 5 years of funding grants, 1999 to 2003, 26 projects were supported with positive results. And as hoped, some of the projects were adopted into the curricula as the pilots proved to be beneficial enhancements to the learning process. When selecting those grants recipients, close attention was paid to the areas of focus defined by the Concord Trust: critical thinking, career exploration, independent learning, team building, effective communication, social and emotional development, and citizenship. What we learned during the process were the projects impacted approximately 40% of the student body each year. The exposure and opportunity the students and faculty were afforded through these projects would not necessarily have been available had it not been for the Concord Trust. There have been many dedicated citizens who have committed their time, talent, and treasure in support of the Concord Trust over the past 20 years. Those individuals who have served as board members have ensured its well-being and sustainability. I am very proud that I had an opportunity to play a small part in establishing this worthwhile and much-needed organization. And as the Greeks say, "Kesanotera," and to greater heights. Congratulations on 20 years, and may there be many, many more.
To hear a little bit more about the direction that the Concord Trust took after its initial founding, I'd like to call to the stage one of our longest-serving chair people, Maureen Redmond-Skura, please. Thank you.
Good evening. For 8 years, I did what Ashlyn has been doing tonight, so it's fun to be on another side right now and serve in this different capacity. I was on the Concord Trust Board from 2005 to 2014 and served as the chairperson for the all but the first year there. During my tenure, we took our website from part of the domain of the district and made it stand on its own, and it had to be accessible and informative, and you could see, and now it's being redone again, which is very exciting and part of how we keep moving forward. We also created the Thank a Teacher program, which is, you could see listed over there. We wanted to be able to have a vehicle to have people make donations, but also to recognize the educators in our community. And to this date, that program has made over 600 honor roll mentions that recognize over 300 individuals and groups in our district while raising over $23,000. For a lot of teachers, I know that I have thanked many teachers. I still continue to do that, and my youngest son is now in college. I often will get a thank you note from a teacher for being thanked because this means so much to them. We moved our annual celebration, which initially was an in-kind donation from the Lincoln Financial Group on their headquarters. They moved away from funding education and we're focusing on the arts, and so we came inside of our school district. We were here, we've been in some of our newer schools, and it's been a terrific partnership to be able to do that and to have some more ownership of ourselves of that program. We also used to meet in the Orr and Reno offices for our regular monthly meetings, and when they were making their move, we took that initiative, and the Trust now meets in the Plymouth State Extension offices, which was another way to become independent and more resilient and more of an independent organization. Another change during my tenure was that the Concord School District entrusted the Concord Trust with distributing the funds from the Concord Teacher Trust Grant. A lot of trusts in Concord there, got to get the names right. Those funds had laid dormant for a long time, and then Superintendent Christine Rath wanted the trust to be able to do that, which helped sustain the grant process through the economic downturn and stabilize the amount of funds that the trust could be granted every year, so that sometimes you don't know from one year to the next what donations are going to be, but with access to this other fund, it made it so that there was a good idea of what was going to be able to be done. As mentioned by Maria, the funds that have funded grants, many times this has been looked at. Dr. Rath used to say that she looked at the trust as the R&D arm of the district. And there were plenty of grants that have started out as a grant through the trust, and then they became something that was done throughout the district. I think of whiteboards, but one of my favorite things is the formative assessment tools, and that was early in my tenure on the board. And I remember the grant first came through, and this teacher wanted clickers at the high school, and I thought, that sounds like a game show. Why do we want to give these kids clickers? And she let us know that by the time a child comes to the high school, if they don't raise their hand to ask a question, they probably never will. So how does a teacher know if the students really get what he or she is teaching or not? And this formative assessment was an on-the-spot way for a teacher to have something up on the whiteboard, which was another grant initially started through the Trust, in his or her classroom, to ask a question, to maybe have several multiple choice answers, and not only see, how come on question 4, everybody got it wrong, but to see this portion of the class answered B. So they think it's this, but instead of that, and immediately change the direction of that lesson to address where the children were falling behind and not understanding what they were doing. And that was done across the board in the high school after that. And there were many things that started with an idea, which is just so exciting as a citizen, as a parent, as someone who's cared about our students. But also, our teachers work so hard. And a grant from the Concord Trust maxes out about $2,500. It's about all you can get. We're not giving people millions of dollars. But for many teachers, being able to be recognized and to have their ideas and their creativity be validated through this grant process is a way for them to know, I'm making a difference. And so it has a mutual thing that we're not only enhancing our classrooms, but we're validating the work of our professionals in our buildings. And we have had nurses who've come forward with grants. We've had phys ed teachers who've come out with grants. We have to make sure that we're careful not to say, oh, this is just teachers, because it's all kinds of staff within the district who've reached out and asked for a grant. And all of the work that I just mentioned is done by the board. The Concord Trust is not a board that sits up on high and doesn't do it. Everything is done by the board. It's a working board. And I'd just like to mention the names of the people who've been on this board in the last 20 years. Maria mentioned the founding members, so I won't restate their names. Some of our members have actually passed away, and many of them are not here. But if you are here, if you could stand when I say your name so we could just recognize you. So in addition to our initial members, we have Lisa Sands, Pam Smith, Susan Schoenfeld, Jeff Zellers, Tara Reardon, Gay Braley, Gina Cohen-Moses, Bob Cummings, Ellen Koenig, Stephen Weiner, Cynthia Ravalis, Pat Lang, I know Pat's here, Chris Teague, Val Perkins, Clint Cogswell, Jana Cummings, Connie Boyles-Lane, Doug McNutt, myself, Susan Sokol, Beth Vignati, Patty Creedon, Charles Willing, Roger Brooks, Jen Eggers, Ashlyn, Leslie Joyner, Harriet Craybill, Adam Lesser, Karen McClellan, Matt Newland, Andrea Golding, Jane Berlin-Pauley, Kristen O'Connor, Kristen Phillips, Jeffrey Shaw, Susan Zimmerman, Susan Reynolds, Tina Annis, and Pam Wicks. Thank you all for all of this work. Did I mention Clint? I see you stood up and I didn't see your name on there. So Clint Cogswell, if I didn't say it, if I say it twice. I am now on the Concord School Board, and from my new perch, I have another view of the work and how this trust work affects everyone. So I thank everyone here tonight for all of your work, and for the teachers who have had the grants. It was exciting to see that, and I look forward to seeing them next year. Have a nice evening.
And our final speaker may need no introduction to many of you, but she has received more grants than any other educator in the Concord School District. In fact, she is here tonight to receive her 7th grant. Please welcome Dr. Nancy Keene.
Getting up on the stage is the hardest.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening. I've been asked to speak today about what the Concord Trust means to the teachers from a teacher perspective. And of course, since I've won very many grants, I think it's invaluable. I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. I remember when the trust was first started, yes, I've been around that long, and I was thinking, wow, what an incredible opportunity to try things. And what I love about the Concord Trust is that you get to try things, and you may fail, and it's okay, but I never have. But you really get to try different things that you wouldn't be able to if you were trying to get out of the regular budget, because the regular budget has other things that are priority that we have to buy, pencils and paper. But the grants allow us to spread our wings and try. If you're driving up the driveway at Runlet and you look over and you see those beautiful flowers that are in the 100 wing, that was because of a Concord Trust grant. We've also gotten a lot of different things through the years that we've been lucky enough to try. We had pedometers for the PE people. The ELL students got the iPads before it was a one-on-one initiative, and they worked really, really well. We have a set of iPods that have the scientific probe that can be used in the science classes. Our art students had a blast with the strand beasts this year. If you haven't seen those are fantastic. And I'll admit that I did buy some for my grandchildren. Yes, we've also had aquaponics. We've had Lego Mindstorms. We've had just a little bit of everything, and it's been so nice to be able to try these things out. I will say, when I first submitted grants to the Concord Trust, I was turned down a couple of times. Yes, it's okay, because now when I look back at those grants, I say, oh, those were horrible. They had every right to turn me down. They were not innovative. There were things that should have come out of the regular budget, so they were absolutely right to turn me down. But when I got my first grant back in 2008, I was just really, really excited. I got 4 little netbooks for the library. We didn't have a lot of computers at that time in the library for students to do research, so we got 4 little teeny netbooks that I put out on a table, and the kids used those for their research. They don't connect to the network any longer, but I haven't given up that I can still use those for something, and I will. The next grant I received was in 2009. I co-wrote with Jane Marrow. A lot of you may remember Jane. We ended up getting Kindles for the kids to try out. She was a Title I reading teacher, so we used them for the Title I kids, and I used them for reluctant readers in the library. And yes, I still am using those. In 2011, we got Echo pens. I don't know if any of you remember when we got those, but they're pens that you can actually record, and then when you hit a special sticker in a book or wherever the sticker is, it'll start talking to you. So we put a bunch of book talks on the pens, and the kids can now go around the library and click on them and hear a book talk about the book, so they can find out what the book is about. We had seeded several of them, but then the kids said, can I do it too? So now we have the kids doing them too, and they're still very popular. We're still using them. In 2014, we got the 3D printer. A lot of kids had never seen a 3D printer. And it was like this incredible revelation to them. It was like, no way, that can't be happening. Now they're pretty common, but at the time they had never seen them. And it was just a really good way to show them what the future was going to look like. Yes, we're still using the 3D printer. It goes pretty much nonstop most days. And we still haven't run out of supplies that we got with the original grant. So I guess I overestimated the supplies on that one, but that's okay. 2015 brought us robots, and the kids were able to start learning to code and start playing with the robots. The kids still are using them. They love making them spin, and the lights flicker, and some of them actually have sound. We have one set of robots where you put a Sharpie in it, and it will draw for you, so the kids have to program how to make it move so that it will write what you want it to write. We had this lovely young man who decided to do happy birthday to his mother, so he had it doing her name and playing happy birthday at the same time. It was great. Let's see, what else have we gotten? Now we got the Amazon Echo. If you haven't seen it out there, please take a look at it. Well, actually, you can't because I took it back. But there's a list of the questions that the kids ask, and we do plan on using that for many years to come. So basically, I've been fortunate to receive a lot of grants, but what I love about it is it's not just a one-shot deal, you know, where this is it. We use this stuff over and over and over again. So everything is still in my library that I've gotten grants for. We're still using them, except for the netbooks, but I will find a way to use those. And so the teachers who have gotten the grants, it's their way of being able to try something new and to be very, very innovative. And knowing that if it doesn't work, it's okay. You know, it's better to do it that way than to, you know, go through the school board process and the budget process and then have something and say, oops, that didn't work. I don't know of any failures. I know of things that are no longer used, but other than that. So this is all to say thank you to the Concord Trust for believing in teachers, believing that we sort of know what we're doing sometimes. Not all the projects they've funded have changed the way we educate our students, but they've certainly changed the teachers and the students that they have touched. We're grateful for letting us try new things. And I just want to say to the Concord Trust, thank you so much for all you do for the teachers.
Okay, and with that, I'd like to get to the part of the program where we award this year's grants. Very exciting part. So, making sure not sure what order these are in. They were all set up? Okay. Well, give me a minute while we find out which one we're going to go with first. So, I will stick with the order on our program here. So, our first grant is awarded to 3 art teachers at Runlet Middle School. It is called Building Up STEAM, Moving Forward with Little Bits in Kinetic Sculpture.
Okay, we'll try to make this brief. My name is Stephanie Bednes. I'm Christy Nyan.
Samaya Kashi.
And so we are the 3 art teachers at Runlet Middle School, and you say the word innovation and creativity and we will appear. So, and now we know the lucky number to beat is 7, so you'll see us next year. All right, so this, our grant last year was inspired by a really cool artist, Teo Johnson, who makes these giant strand beasts that actually move. And we had an awesome time buying these kits, which is what the grant provided last year, and we used those kits with the students to talk about Connect Sculpture and STEAM and science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And then they had the challenge of actually creating their own. This whole thing grew out of a visit that Christy Nyan and I had done to Dine Technologies in Manchester, and in that visit, they were talking about specifically, you know, what was missing when kids went into the workplace, and it was that opportunity to play, to work together, to have that chance for innovation. And we said, hey, we can do this. We can do this in our classroom. And the Concord Trust grant was the perfect opportunity to do it. We wouldn't have been able to do it without them. And it was great. We learned as much as the kids learned. It gave us the chance to innovate within our own program, and we just wouldn't have had the funds or opportunity to do it, you know, without them. And what's most amazing about it is it evolved on its own. So once we started playing around with this, we were like, wow, we don't know enough about STEAM. How can we find out more? And we ended up forming a strand that the district lets us do, and we ended up with math teachers, we ended up with science teachers, we ended up with tech ed teachers, and we went out into Dine Technologies. We went to the Manchester School of Technology, which was really wild to see, and we went out to the McLaughlin Middle School, who does the STEAM program, and just by seeing what other people were doing, we became even more inspired. And that led us to ask for a second grant, which Christy Nye is just going to briefly explain.
So I had the opportunity to go to the National Art Educators Conference in New York City this year, and there was one program that was, there was a school from Seattle. They brought a bunch of Little Bits kits, and what they are these little connected circuitry bricks that help create kinetic sculpture. So anyway, they put us in teams, and we all built these innovative kinetic sculptures, inventions. It was incredible to see the breadth of invention that was happening there just in a short amount of time. And I got really excited about bringing these to the middle school and to see what the kids could use them for, because they're so innovative. So yeah, so this is one of the little kits that we have here.
And I had to buy that for my son to make him try it out.
Yeah,
And it
so we've been
worked.
playing with it a little bit. But yeah, they work great as for building prototypes, for making kinetic sculpture, for building inventions. They had a throwing arm. They had, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Oh, you can manipulate them with your iPhone. So all the bricks have different functions. Some of them move, some of them have lights, some of them make sound.
And the best is that they're reusable
Yes,
over and over and over and
again.
over. So once you get them, they're good.
So we can use our own art supplies and integrate them into the Little Bits and then reuse them year after year after year. You can actually put hot glue on them and take it off. And so, the possibilities are endless, and we're really excited about the future of that.
And just a final, my name is Samaya Kashi. This is my first year at Runlit, and it's been wonderful to be working with these two awesome art teachers, and they're so innovative. My background is in architecture, so this has been really exciting for me. I also just wanted to give a big thank you to the Trust for making this possible for us. Thank you.
And our next grant goes to Millbrook Preschool, to Christine Cashman and Marley Martin. It is Core Language Through Literacy.
Hello, my name is Marley Martin. I'm a preschool special educator. I'm Chris Cashman. I'm a speech and language pathologist in the preschool at Millbrook. And we applied for a grant. I feel like we are following a really insanely awesome act. We work in the preschool at Millbrook. We provide services, both special education and speech and language, as well as a variety of other things like OT and PT through others that work with us. We provide services to a variety of students. We have the youngest population in the school district, 3 to 5 year olds, and so we've got the very earliest learners in the district. We found a program that, first of all, I was at a conference in Philadelphia, and I was so excited while I was watching this language program that some New York City speech and language pathologists and special educators were presenting, that I was taking pictures of the PowerPoint and sending them to Marley in our classroom during the presentation. And I kept thinking, this is such an innovative, insanely awesome program. We've got to try this. The program was really primarily targeted to a group of autistic children that were in a special education classroom, self-contained, and they were K through like 5. And I thought, okay, well, we are 3-year-old to 5-year-olds, we can do this. How can we make this program functional and valid in our preschool program? I think we can reach a lot of kids. And so we did. We brought the program, we started piloting one target word every few weeks starting in the winter. So we would buy the materials, we would adapt these books. Things like saying no. We have children that don't know how to talk yet. Many of our students don't have words and are learning. And so this was a visual program that we could adapt to books. We could put the pictures that had the power words like no or yes or bathroom, more, into our sensory tables. They were laminated. We had a lot of help with people doing this for us. Marley would read the stories that we adapted these books, and the kids would learn to practice, and they would see the words. But the really awesome thing about the program was our initial intention was this was for children with autism or significant developmental delays. But we found that the program not only was able to slide down to some of our earliest learners, but it was able to hit a much larger target. It was not just the children with autism that were learning. We found the whole classroom was coming alive and excited, seeing these visuals, and they would wait for the new word to come in.
Especially with our preschool class, it's not all of our students have special needs. Half of them are typically developing students, but a lot of those students are ELL learners, even though they're typically developing, and this program has really empowered them to learn those power words and to help their friends. One of my favorite moments was I was cleaning up snack time and I looked over on our little library couch and we had a student who had autism and a typically developing peer, and they had one of those books and they shared it in their lap, and there's little icons that adapt the books, like it might be a book about no, for instance, and the child that had autism was pointing to the pictures and saying no as the typical developing peer was flipping it. We've just seen such growth in our students. We piloted the program starting in about November, December, and we've just seen an intense amount of growth. So we're super excited for this opportunity to bring it.
Yeah, we thank the Trust very much for believing in us and believing in our program, and we thank Pam Wicks for presenting, coming into our classroom, seeing the really awesome stuff that was going on. We're not the only ones that are doing this. We have a lot of paraprofessionals that work in the classroom that we share what our, what the new word is going to be. It is plastered visually around. We actually are, it's a Mayor Johnson symbol, so it's something that is familiar for all grades, and something that certainly we teach our earliest learners, but we hope that we can send up with our kids as they transition to kindergarten and for later grades. So it's a really exciting program that is really promoting functional communication, but also early literacy, because kids come in and they're like, I found no, and it's in the sensory table, and these are kids that are 3 years old and they're reading, they've learned that symbol, N-O, and the X means no, and so we're promoting that really early identification of letters and words, and they're identifying that. So thank you for believing in us. Thanks for presenting.
Thank you so much.
Our next grant was actually already mentioned briefly by Dr. Forston. It is called Flexible Seating. It is at Broken Ground School. It has many award winners, so I'm not sure which ones are here to, represent. We have Wendy Harrison, Annie Arnold, Lindsay Elefant, I'm not sure I'm saying it right, Elefante, Sarah Oliveira, Lynn Warner, and Caitlin Carlson.
Hi, I'm Wendy Harrison. I teach 5th grade at Broken Ground School. Flexible seating is basically about student choice in learning posture. And the intention is to teach kids to really reflect on what physical posture they learn best in, and to train them to choose the right position for them, whether it be standing at a table, sitting on the floor, kneeling, a variety of seating choices. I've dipped my toe into this in my classroom this year, and I've seen a lot of benefits. First of all, the kids are taking more responsibility for their learning environment. I don't have assigned spaces in the classroom. They choose their spaces, and they are responsible for choosing the correct space for their best learning. Also, the student attitude has really improved about, well, when they walk into the classroom, they know they have that choice, and if something's not working for them, then they can change, they can move, and that builds in some health benefits, because movement is really important for learning. And so that's already built into the flexible seating. Also, it helps them focus. So if something's not working and they know that they're not focusing where they are, then they can change that. And what the grant is allowing us to do, well, first of all, I'm one person, but I also was explaining this to some of my colleagues, and I've gotten 5 teachers very excited about trying this in their classroom. So what the grant is doing is allowing us to get the furniture variety that we're going to need to really promote that student choice. And so we thank you very much for that.
Okay. Our next grant goes to Runlet Middle School. It is called From Sit to Fit, and it is to Mr. Dave Malay.
First of all, navigating the stairs was not that difficult. Sorry. Going off of Ms. Harrison's, movement is the key for helping educate the students and having them gain a better experience. From Sit to Fit is going to bring exercise bikes / workstations into the classroom so the kids can ride a bike, do their work on there while they're riding a bike at the same time. Along with that, the students are going to be able to use TheraBands, like physical therapy, to do upper body work instead of just lower body work, so they're able to get the whole body workout throughout the class. Our goal is to hopefully increase the students' physical activity when they're normally sedentary to sitting down, for them to be able to burn off more energy and gain a better education, become more focused in class. I want to say thank you to the Concord Trust for allowing us to do this. Biz Logan and I are going to be splitting the workstations between our classrooms, so most, if not all, of the students will have an opportunity at Runlet Middle School to benefit from this. Once again, thank you very much.
As you'll note in your program, the next grant is called NeuroNet Learning for Preschoolers. There were some circumstances that changed for the grant awardee, and she needs to decline the grant for this year. So our next grant will be Pet Partners for Struggling Readers. It is at Millbrook School, and Heather Hunt is here to accept the award.
My name is Heather Hunt, and I'm a special education teacher at Millbrook School, and we work with lots of reluctant readers, so we've been trying to brainstorm ways to sort of motivate them, get them excited about reading. So next year, through this grant, we are going to have therapy animals from the SPCA come in weekly, and children will be able to spend time with that pet. I know sometimes it's a dog, it can be a rabbit, so it even changes animals each week. And they'll spend time reading to the animal, so they'll practice the books throughout the week and then be able to spend one day with the animal. So we're hopeful that that will get them excited, motivated, and feeling more confident as a reader. So the money from the grant we're going to use to buy books that are highly motivating for kids. Some of them are going to be I read, you read books, where the adult may read one page and the child will read the second page. So really just finding ways to get kids excited about reading, and also kids that may be experiencing trauma and having hard days at school. This will be an opportunity for them to feel comfortable at school. So I just want to thank the Trust, and
our next grant is called Using Physical Web Beacons to Promote Reading, Writing, and Ideas in the ADS Library. It's for Abbott Downing School, and Peter Osiecki. You're right. I'm actually excited to hear about this because I had to have someone explain to me.
Okay. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Peter Osiecki, and I am the Program Assistant for Technology at Abbott Downing School. Before I get started with just a few brief notes, besides technology and supporting technology in the school, I also work in the school library quite a bit. And I noticed, especially from our last inventory, that we had thousands of book titles, but through the process of students checking books out, there was a very small amount of books, either through genres or through the actual titles that kids were actually checking out each time. And we had all these titles, but yet none were really being utilized enough. And I started to think, how can we really get this accomplished so that kids see more, maybe are encouraged through a couple different ways, either through a peer and maybe even build a little technology into it a little bit too, because I like technology. So let me read a few things here. First of all, I just want to thank the Concord Trust and also the Concord School District for this grant. This is my second year in the Concord School District, and I turn a corner everywhere in the district, invited in different schools, and even in my own school at Abbott Downing, and I continually see great innovation and great teachers, and I'm really happy to be a part of that. So first of all, the goal of this project is to promote reading and writing, but specifically to engage students through digital awareness and introduce them to library books that have been peer-reviewed. Through a contextual experience of reading and listening to book reviews, as well as other content, students will be encouraged to read books from a much larger breadth of topics and genres. Using an offshoot of the internet called the physical web, a simple device called proximity beacons, which are about the size and shape of a quarter, will notify and engage students in the Abbott Downing School Library. With the use of iPads and other bring-your-own devices, these beacons will push notifications to students when they enter the space. Leveraging the broad abilities of iPads and other BYODs, students and staff will be able to access student-produced, digitally written book reviews to promote enthusiasm and interest in reading, overcoming obstacles such as, what book should I read when a student uses library services? Grant project activities will include students reading school library books and then writing a simple review that describes the genre, characters, setting, and a brief synopsis of the story. The students will also give the recommendations, along with the recommended reading level. In addition, reviews will be audio recorded and will be available to listen through headphones. Other grant project work will have students building a website for viewing within the district using Google Sites. The reviews will be written in Google Docs, and audio recordings will be in the student writer's voice. In addition, students will help create interactive displays on topics of art and science using other varieties of beacons. Lastly, the students will learn to program the beacons to interact with the internet and the physical web. This project may have the potential to be exported to other Concord schools, with other uses that may include the classroom, whole school scavenger hunts, school functions, and classroom station work. This project is exciting in many ways and will impact every student at Abbott Downing School, either through critical reading, using learned writing skills, or simply participating through the common use of library services. Again, thank you very much. Thanks.
Yes, perhaps I should have mentioned initially, yes, so these delightful packets will have all of the information you need to access your funds. It goes through a whole long list, but just in case you're looking for it, it's probably in here. Our next awardee is already on the stage. There, yes, very careful about the steps. It's from Concord High. It is a grant called Statecraft. Mr. Bozeman.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Krigus Bozeman. I'm very fortunate enough to be a social studies teacher here at Concord High, my alma mater, all those years ago. And one of my favorite courses to teach is for the 9th graders. It's a world geography and cultures class that the students get to participate in. And I don't think anyone will argue that, today's students are going to be tomorrow's leaders. They're the ones who are going to be running the show for us in a few years. And so it's so exciting, especially in social studies, for us to be able to introduce what that world is going to look like for them and understand that we're not sure what that world is going to look like for them. They're going to be participating in a globalized society that has, uncharted problems and uncharted issues that they're going to get to navigate and to work through. And there's a really great sort of learning tool that we stumbled upon called Statecraft, and what it is, essentially, I'll try to make it pretty simple, is that it's an online simulation that kind of thrusts students into a parallel world, and it's a world that's got the same global issues and the same global tasks that we are faced with, and now we've given the kids charge of their own country and charge of all their own destiny to make their decisions similar to what our own world leaders have made as far as environment or security. And as students each week, they get to make the decisions about what their statecraft world is going to do to try to solve some of these problems. And it's so neat that they get to see their results, and they get to see their benefits and the consequences of their actions. We always try to put them in there in this sort of philosophical idea of what would you do if you were in charge, and how would you solve this problem. And now they get to do do it. And so that's only scratching the surface. What really a lot of it boils down to is the fact that they need to collaborate, and they need to work with other countries and other presidents of other countries in order to solve some of these problems that are just greater than just them. And it really sort of sets the stage for what a global leader is going to look like in the coming years. And we got to try this with a small group of kids in this last 2 years, and they just a quick neat little story was someone came to me on Monday, and we were kind of working with it and talking, and this yeah, Mr. Bozeman, we were kind of working with it. Eli was telling me on Saturday that we were going to decide to build another school here to hopefully improve, sort of stop them. So wait a minute, so you and Eli did what? And so, on Saturday there's a group of us, and we kind of get together on Saturday nights, and we plan. And so I said, wait a minute, so 15-year-olds, Saturday night, you get pizza and do your social studies homework? Words that have never been spoken together, I don't think, ever. We knew that we were onto something that was engaging and something that they cared about and something that really felt real and authentic to them. So it was something that the kids were getting hyped about, the teachers were getting hyped about, and so we worked together with a couple of other teachers and put together a grant. And thanks to the board, and special thanks to Harriet for helping me walk through the grant process, we're now going to participate with several teachers next year, and over 200 ninth graders are going to be presidents of their own countries next year, and we're going to see what that's going to look like. So thank you very much to the board for this, and we can't wait to get started. So thank you.
Okay, please, Nancy, return to the stage for your 7th grant award. Virtual reality in the classroom for Renlet Middle School. Careful on those stairs.
Thank you very much for this. When Harriet asked me to speak at the ceremony tonight, I said, now you wouldn't ask me to speak and then not fund my grant, would you? But, okay, so I got it, yes. Last year, we had an amazing opportunity. I was able to get some people from Google to come to Runlet and run all of our kids through some virtual reality field trips. So kids got 30 minutes in the virtual reality Google Cardboard, going to the top of Mount Everest, going underneath Galapagos Island, going wherever the teachers wanted them to go, going to ancient Egypt. So we saw how powerful that was with them. We had been using augmented reality, and we knew how powerful that was, but when we saw the virtual reality, we really decided we needed to do something about this. And of course, I went out and got my grandson some virtual reality goggles. Just like Steph said, her son is the guinea pig. Yeah, my grandsons get all this stuff first. So what we're going to be doing, we're not using the big sophisticated like Samsung, Google, the helmets. We're using very inexpensive virtual reality goggles that you could put a cell phone in. So I'm also asking for a few of the devices because most cell phones might work. If you have an iPhone, it would work, but you need an accelerometer, you need a gyroscope. There's certain criteria that you need to be able to use the virtual reality with these helmets. So we're asking for some devices as well. So our goal is to start not only consuming virtual reality, there's a lot of them out there, we're signed up for Google Expeditions, but I also got a beta program where I can actually create Google Expeditions as well. So we're going to be working on that. We're working with Google Street View, and we're doing tours. We're going to be doing tours of downtown Concord. We're going to be doing a virtual reality trip of our wintry ecology unit that people like me who don't want to go out in the woods in the winter can actually see what the kids do without having to go out in the woods in the winter. So we have a lot of plans, and we're hoping that it'll all work out and we'll have another successful grant. But again, we could not do this without the Concord Trust. So thank you all so much.
And we had the privilege to read a different but also wonderful use of virtual reality grant. And this one goes to Concord High, and it is Justin Bork and Heather Duggan. Dugan, I'm sorry.
Nancy, you said you had 7 of these? You managed to steal a lot of what we were about to say for our VR in this one. You are a pro, so that was obvious. Yeah, I'm Justin Bork. Just a brief introduction. I'm the technology integrator here at the high school. This is my 3rd year doing that, 1st year full-time. And Helen?
I'm Helen Dugan. I'm the library media specialist here at Concord High. And we, first of all, really want to say thank you to Concord Trust for funding our endeavor. We're really excited about this and looking forward to exploring all the things that we can do. We felt like our positions, tech integrator and librarian, gave us kind of a unique opportunity to work across the curriculum and integrate all kinds of options with virtual reality into all kinds of classroom settings and reach a large population of the student body.
And, you know, you guys were talking about earlier, the opening speakers, about what the Concord Trust is all about, and it was up there briefly with your awesome new website, but it was basically talking about enhancing education and innovation, and if you kind of insert the word technology integration in there, that phrase, then it's, I mean, to me, I was reading, I'm like, that's exactly what we're here to do. And part of that is this kind of aspirational technology, this technology that doesn't immediately, you go, oh, I know 20 practical uses immediately of how we're going to do that. It's, wow, that was compelling, that was amazing. Can we find a way to make meaning from that? And we got surprised with VR. The further we got into researching this, because we had tried it, we have, this was, so we did get the, we did ask for the fancy high-tech headsets that Nancy was describing, because I mean, we had the, Google Cardboard was a big hit. They loved it at the high school. It was amazing, and we just saw this as a logical progression for us now at this point. And for me, I used to be a social studies teacher, still think of myself as one, and that love came from, you know, when travel, like massive amounts of travel in my 20s. And what I got in terms of a love of culture and a love of history and a love of places, it did come from school, but the stuff that stayed in the long-term memory bank, that came from travel. So the idea for me, as soon as I saw this, what I latched on to was just immersive real-world experiences for, well, you know, kind of the idea is not everyone can travel like that, especially in their teenage years when they don't necessarily have the funds or the means to do that. And I want to get as close as possible for them. I want to have an experience that just provides that opportunity to be that much more immersive. And you know, it's exciting not just to have them remember it, have them be engaged and remember it, but also just the kinds of conclusions they can draw about historical events or cultural norms of a place when you're literally standing in it and interacting with it instead of a passive observer or somebody looking at something on a two-dimensional book. It's sort of hard to, we have a little video because it's sort of hard to explain that concept in words. And it would feel a little backwards actually to do that. But the cool thing was, and I'm going to hand this off to Helen, because the cool thing was that was my idea. Oh, real world, immersive experience. We can travel without leaving the classroom, and that will be amazing. But then we started to realize there were many other ways that virtual reality can be used that have nothing to do with trying to recreate the real world and could be equally as educationally valuable. And do you want to maybe...
Yes, so we practiced this, can you tell? We started to explore all kinds of other things that we saw as benefits. It allows us in some ways to do the impossible, like time travel. You can go back in time to Nero's palace. You can be in someone's living room in 1941 listening to the news of Pearl Harbor being bombed. There's the opportunity to do other things that aren't possible now, but maybe will be some point in the future, like go to Mars. There are virtual reality tours of that. And then even more impossible than some of those kinds of things, It allows you to go into places humans can't go otherwise, like to explore the anatomy and the inner workings of the human eye. So we just saw so many more ways that we could integrate across curriculum in science and in history and art, beyond traveling, which we're excited about those elements as well. There's also the opportunity to create in virtual reality. We've also, in addition to the 2 HTC Vive sets that Concord Trust will be funding, we're going to be getting some tilt brush software, which allows students to create art and objects and stand within that reality. So we're excited about the creation piece as well.
And just as a last thing here, we just wanted to make sure you got the visual, or it's still two-dimensional, but the idea, Nancy, you drew this distinction. I think it must have been important for you too to understand, like, okay, there's this aspect of consuming information, taking it in, experiencing something, but can we create as well? And you very much can with both of these grants that Concord Trust has funded, and we're excited about that. So at the top is, you'll see a video when we play here that is the tilt brush software that is creation, and the bottom is more of an experience. It's Google Earth, but in VR.
So we really want to thank Concord Trust for supporting our efforts for virtual reality, and we're going to really look forward to being back here next year to tell you what happens.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I agree about those steps. Ashlyn had another appointment she had to go to, so I decided I would come up here and just close out the ceremony and thank you all for coming. The last grant, the person who is receiving the grant, Trish Marie Beauvais. Oh, you are here. Oh, you're here to receive it for her. Excellent. Let me go get it. Go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mel McSteen, the school counselor at Abbott Downing School, and I just wanted to thank the trust for granting my request last year. It was very helpful to have the resources for several of the Abbott Downing families, especially this fall. But I'm here to represent Trish Beauvais, and she is Winter Feels Good, highlighting health, fitness, social, and academic benefits of snowshoeing. And from my perspective, getting along with the snowshoes in a group is a great idea as well. And getting the kids outside in Abbott Downing, we do have the space to be creative. So we're looking forward to this and give you more information next year. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. Thanks for coming, and I hope that the Concord Trust has many more years ahead of it, and we can celebrate in another 20 years for the 40th annual reunion. So, thank you.